and seeing yours. It makes my week. Thank you. So, welcome everyone. And I'm Mika, forgive me, but I'm so delighted. I want to start by welcoming Mika Endo, who has not been with us for quite a while. She has been in Japan. I want to welcome her back. Mika is a longtime student, and I personally have been missing her terribly. So I hope you and I hope everyone else who's here today enjoys today's class. I typed in our chat box the name of our artist of focus today. Her name is Wangari Mathenge. And I don't have too much biographical information on Wangari, but I'm going to start with what I have. And as with every other class, I'm going to talk briefly about the artist's life, then we're going to look at her work, and then I'm going to talk about what we're going to create today. I'm going to start creating my own piece of art. I call it a demo. For those of you who are newer students, beginning students, I recommend that you watch me. Those of you who are my more veteran students, you can just go to work after I give the assignment. So Wangari Mathenge is so new to the art scene. She's still a student. She is working on her MFA. She is originally from Kenya, but now lives and works in Chicago, Illinois. She actually has a background in business and law and is a graduate of both Howard University and Georgetown University Law Center in Washington, D.C. In 2019, she joined the MFA Painting and Drawing program at the School of the Art Institute of Chicago. My son went there. Her works are held in private collections in Africa, Europe, and North America. She is a historically focused painter. She reinterprets traditional African patriarchal society alongside her own. Now, I should add a note here, not that I'm an expert on African art history or African cultural history, but not all of Africa is patriarchal. But in this particular biography of Mathenge, it says she reinterprets traditional African patriarchal society alongside her own. Juxtaposing modern and contemporary references, Mathenge's work is dedicated to the investigation and incorporation of the visual testimony of the oft-discounted Black female experience within the context of both customary African society and the diaspora. So you may or may not know, Africans live all over the world, whether it's because of the horrors of slavery, whether it's because they have been forced to flee their countries because of political or colonial oppressions, but Africans, or because they've chosen to leave for financial reasons or for job opportunities elsewhere, but Africans have chosen to live in countries all over the world. For example, my husband, who is Senegalese, has relatives who live in Vietnam. And he has told me that he's spoken to Senegalese who live in places like Japan, for example, and who have married and established families in Japan. So the diaspora of African peoples is vast and spreads all over the world. So she tries to capture images of people in African society and also throughout the diaspora. Shifting the dialogue around painting and identity, the artist's portraits highlight these silent exchanges and hierarchical dynamics, often depicting people with whom she has significant relationships. Her paintings are realized through structured compositions, emboldened with gestural strokes and mark making. So somewhere in the few writings I found about her, I read that she is inspired by painters, portrait painters like Francis Bacon. I don't know if those of you who do know about Bacon, or if you don't know of him, you might want to look him up. In fact, last week's New Yorker magazine had a great profile of Francis Bacon. He was actually, no, it was Lucien Freud, the profile in last week's New Yorker, but Lucien Freud is a similar painter to Francis Bacon. They are portrait artists who are very realistic, so realistic to the point they show every wart and wrinkle on the person. And you're going to see in Mathenge's work that she approaches that kind of realism as well. So her work is emboldened by these gestural strokes and mark making in an attempt to recreate as realistically as she possibly can. So her newest series, called The Expats, which debuted in late 2019, recontextualizes the descriptor as a way of exposing its reserved status as a qualifier for white Western migrants. But while an investigation into lexicons that illustrate migration may not implicate the socioeconomic or political status of non-Western migrants, Mathenge calls into question the reserving of words as markers of othering, perpetuating hierarchies, and by default sanctioning discrimination and dehumanization. Not sure what that means.
I was going to say that.
If anyone wants to interpret that for us, please feel free. And I apologize, I should have read this prior to sharing it with you, and I did not. I just found it late last night. But let's look at her work, shall we? Oh, I hope Heidi enabled the share screen for me. Let's see. Yeah, no, I'm not seeing my, let's see.
Heidi did say she was standing by, so maybe just call out to her.
No, I'm not worried. Not at the panic stage yet. Come on. Here we go. Yes, she did. Now, one difference between Wangari and the artist we looked at last week. The artist we looked at last week, her work was not about real people. So Wangari is actually trying to recreate images of people she knows or has seen in her daily life. This is an artist who's still a student. I hope you're looking at these images because I want you to see that there are imperfections. Maybe the proportions are slightly off. Who cares? Look at the beauty of the expressions in these people's faces. What do you think? Look at the amazing composition. Anybody have any thoughts that they want to share?
I think
the shading is beautiful, and I really love the way she's using the reds and the blues. Instead of maybe multiple skin tones, it's using those colors that are in that light. So I think that's cool.
Yes, kind of like the Impressionists. She's using color to create
Exactly.
shadow.
Yeah.
So I don't really notice the imperfections, if you will, of proportions at this point. But what I do see is this, like, she has a feel for composition. Her crowding of the three closely, close together, and then spreading the two outer images over the borders of the piece. So you're like, yeah, like it enlarges them for me. It makes them a little bit larger, more impressive, I guess.
Absolutely. The way the figures on either end, on either side of the figure in the middle, are cut off, the way they run off the edge of the page creates such a dynamic composition. And then the negative shape that's made in the background because of the way she's placed the figures in the foreground is so beautiful.
Mhm.
But just the hand on the shoulder here, for me, is such a tender, it feels so tender to me and loving. And then the difference in expression in the faces, I don't know, it's just the way she made them each look so individual and different.
Looks like it was made from a photo
Could be.
because it's so effortless on their side.
Could be. It looks like they're in motion, doesn't it? Like she's just captured the moment
Really
as if it was a snapshot. I agree. Yeah. All right. Let's look at some more. This one's a little blurry, but it's so beautiful. Let's look at this one next.
So Liz, could I ask, how is it that you discovered her? And because you know, of course you choose from amongst so many.
I have to try and remember. It was 2 months ago that I started researching for this class. Sometimes I just Google up and coming or new contemporary artists, and she came up. She's kind of a hot number at the moment in the art scene, the US art scene.
Got it, thanks.
It was probably an article in either Art 21 or Artsy or one of those. Maybe the New York Times, Art and Leisure section, the New Yorker. That's where things turn up. Things of interest turn up for me in those locations. Now this one, for some reason, the reproduction of the image is not good, but my God, doesn't it look like a photograph? I'm sorry. It is so real, like you could just start talking to this woman. I find it, the glow of her skin is, to me, very beautiful. And again, the composition, the fact that she made the head, the torso here, the upper part of the body, so large that it fills the entire page, to me, makes this such a powerful portrait. And then this negative cutout shape here on my right-hand side is just, it's so beautiful to me. It almost completely distracts me from the portrait.
Well, I like the texture of the fabric and the hat that she can
Yes, very
get
much. Yeah,
that.
I agree. And for me, the cultural, think back to what the bio said, how she's trying to convey the image of the African in the diaspora. So there's a cultural context for me here. I'm wondering, where is this woman? Where is she from? What is her ethnicity? She feels to me perhaps Caribbean, but is she in the United States? Is she not Caribbean? Is she perhaps in London and from Africa? So I like the cross-cultural ambiguity of this image. And powerful female image. Maybe I should use Wangari again during Women's History Month. But she feels like just such a strong matriarch, this woman. Maybe it's the straw hat that makes me feel as if she's Caribbean, South American, Central American. If you're interested in African diasporan history, Henry Louis Gates has an incredible series on African civilization on PBS. I recommend it highly. One of the best episodes is about Black culture in Central America. But I diverge. Okay, any thoughts about this woman, this painting? Just, this to me could hang next to any Rembrandt portrait.
Try new.
Who is that, Dina?
I think it was background noise from someone's.
Okay.
I agree with you, Liz. I think there's, I mean, I'm glad you spoke of it because I wouldn't have had as easy a time finding the words, but there's something so classic about her choice of subject, the choice of color, the textures, the whole composition. And I feel like I could do a whole course with you just on negative spaces because, you know, they're there, but you don't really notice them until somebody like you points them out, and then you realize they do make such a huge difference.
And you made me realize, Jane, why did she do the background so blue?
Yeah, yeah.
I just love the background.
Yeah, it's beautiful.
And guys, this is why artists rarely leave the background white.
Mm.
Even last week's artist, even though her palette was limited, very neutral in color, her backgrounds weren't white. They were a cream off-white color. All right, let's look at a couple more. I want us to have enough time to do our own thing. This woman went to law school. What was she thinking? Wangari. Oh, sorry.
Art career.
Robin's waiting to be admitted. Okay. And you all see this one. So this one's kind of entirely different. Very different feel to it. I'm not going to say anything about this painting. What are your thoughts, folks?
She's gone less detail just to capture the subject.
Absolutely. What else?
I feel like the coloring, it gives a bit of an emotion itself. Like the last painting, it looked like the the face was kind of hard, but it was drawn very softly. And here you can see it's like a joyful emotion. And I think that the yellow represents that. So I just think even with less detail, nothing's being removed from it.
Okay. Any other thoughts?
I wondered if it was a self-portrait. She kind of looks exasperated.
Ah, could be. Could be. The white shirt might be her painting shirt. Compositionally, are we noticing what she did with color? This powerful red column here, and then how she put this touch of red on the other side, and then the red under the elbow, both elbows, there's a tiny bit of red, and along this arm, and in here underneath the fingers, and a touch of red on her skin here. I feel like there's another article of clothing underneath the white shirt, maybe a scarf. The composition's really kind of amazing in this one. Interesting what she's done with the face here. Is her hair covering her chin? What's going on in this distortion? It fascinates me. I want to be closer to this.
She looks like she's biting her lip too.
Could be. Yeah, and the posture is very tight, isn't it? Her shoulders are hiked way up. It almost looks like a grimace, or is it a hi, how are you? It's hard to tell if it's welcoming or, yeah, the expression is difficult to read. Then this strip of white in the foreground is also unusual, unexpected. It really grounds the figure, you know.
Okay. Oh, wow.
Do you see it at the bottom? At first, I didn't even notice it.
Mm-hmm.
It really makes the white of the teeth so strong.
Looks to me like she's sitting at a table, like in a diner, in a booth.
Could be.
That's what I was thinking.
Or at the table in the studio. Or
Right.
Looks like the studio to me.
It's interesting that the background is so, straight, your back, and she's more at a diagonal, like the way she's centered, but she's facing, there's a like dynamic there that's going diagonally back.
Yes. Yep.
And also, also her shape is like a triangle.
Triangle,
right? And then you have the rectangle, four rectangles, the white, the blue, the orange, red, and the yellow are all with that triangle. And it's different than the negative shapes, but it's just as striking. It's arresting somehow.
Yep.
The colors.
And it confines her, but it gives emotion to it. That's
Huge emotion.
Kind of looks like it could be a flag. Does anyone recognize?
Yes.
Anybody recognize the colors?
Well, red and yellow are on just about every African flag there is. Some of you are reading this color here as blue. On my laptop, I'm reading it almost as black.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
It's like a blue with some green in it, I think.
It's broken up by just that tiny bit of red, and it's cool because she's brought the red
around.
The use of red is magnificent in this painting. All right, let's look at one more, and then we're going to go to work. Just one more, because I find her work so dynamic. The other thing I want to share, I was watching on HBO the other night. They have a new documentary. I think it's called Black Arts, about the Black Arts movement. And they talked a lot about the Studio Museum in Harlem, and a lot of the Black artists that we've talked about in this class, starting with Carrie James Marshall, and the whole influence of the Studio Museum in Harlem and figurative realistic art. And then there's an article in the New York Times Magazine section from this week about Black abstract expressionist painters. I recommend both the HBO documentary and the article in the New York Times. I feel like they came at just the right time in our coursework. All right, so now we're back. She has two distinct styles, doesn't she? So this is more like that portrait of the woman in the hat, I feel. This woman, so I want to grow up to be this woman. Right? She's so regal.
She's wonderful.
She's poised. I mean, it's
Yeah, poised, elegant.
confident, elegant.
I'm noticing the use of white and shading in her face, the dark and the light, and
Yes.
above her eye, the white and the lips. I mean, it's amazing how she brings it all to life with that.
The glow. Notice, here's a good thing to notice, because I'm going to talk about it in our portrait work today. You see the dot of white?
Mm-hmm.
You must have that little bit of white showing through the eye in order to make your portrait look lifelike.
Liz, I find it interesting how she cut off the hair.
Why not? Yep. Again, the compositional work here is magnificent.
Yeah.
The fact that in this one she did not have the shoulders run off the edge. How genius is that? And she allowed these tiny edges here of the hot pink. And how wonderful is this hot pink background? It's just. And then the highlights in this blue fabric, I'm guessing it's some kind of velvet, because it's so shiny. The way she used the quality of the light. The touches of the red in the piping in the fabric and in the lips and in the highlights under the eyes and around the edges of the face and in the cheeks. Yeah.
There are just so many layers of color. It's just, it really
Yes.
brings so much texture.
It makes me wonder, I don't have any information on her process or technique. She may do an undercoat first and build up.
Do you think this is oil?
I don't know. Again, I'm limited, and she's so new to the art scene. I'm completely limited in information about her. I invite you all to look further. All right, I saved this portrait till the end because I want you to notice how she uses shading. This is the way we create realism in our portraiture. How does the light hit this woman's face? It's pretty spectacular. No lines visible in the way she's created the nose. It is all done with shading. Do you see that? And she probably waited till the very end to create this very bright light highlight. Notice how the shadow curves to create the form of the nose. Darker around the eye, in the eye socket area. The eyes are recessed into the skull. Darker on this, the right side of the person's head, our left side as we look at the screen, because of the way the light source is coming from our right. You see where my cursor is? So the light is probably way up here. It's probably a spotlight coming right down here. That's why we have this bright light here and here and here and on the full lip here and a little bit of white here and very bright here and here and here. But notice how dark it gets under the chin and the neck. This is because the chin is casting a shadow here. All right. Are we ready?
As we'll ever be.
All right. Here are the materials that you will need. Some kind of photograph with a full face facing forwards. Pencil, white paper, eraser, and that's about it. If you're lucky enough to have charcoal or graphite, get that together, an eraser, and you're good to go. If you want to work in color, if you feel ready for that, get your colored stuff together.
Okay.
Oh, and I hope everyone noticed in the chat box, they're looking for more artwork for the Creative Corner. So, oh, we have a lot of time today. I did good. I didn't talk too much.
Never too late.
Esty,
Yeah, I'm here.
should I share a few more pictures?
Sure.
Now, everybody get your materials. I'm going to give you 3 minutes to gather up what you need, and then we will begin. We are going to do portraiture today. That is our goal. This is our final piece for the month of February. And we have sunshine today. Always the problem is how to position the easel. There we go. Which do you think? Taking votes. beautiful lady in a mask.
Can't see the one without a mask. Oh.
Well, I'm going to show it next. Well, probably for the sake of the class, I should do the lady without the mask. Another minute for everyone to gather up your stuff. I'm going to switch. I just found a picture of African American kids. I really like it. So I'm going to choose one of those kids, I think. Oh, and this week's New York Times magazine, there are two magazines. One, Fashion, the T magazine, and there are some great photos in there. Of very beautiful people. Oh, it says my internet connection is unstable. You can all see me still, I hope?
Yes.
Awesome. All right, I'm going to begin. Ironically, the lighting in here today, I feel, is a little dim, but we'll proceed. It's sunny outside, but a little gray in here today. As always, the human head is an oval, so wider at the top, narrower at the bottom. I'm making the head quite large, and I'm doing it for two reasons. One, to make it easier for you to see, but two, the larger you draw, the more room for error you have. So even if your style is to draw small, it's easier to draw large. So you might want to take a risk today and try drawing big. If you recall from when I first taught you how to draw the human face, artists like to draw guidelines. So very lightly in pencil, I'm going to do my guidelines. And the kind of pencil I'm using, just as review, is a number 2. Number 2 pencils are wonderful to draw with. They are very soft and easy to erase. My first guideline is to show the symmetry of the human face. It goes right down the middle, vertically down the middle. My next guideline is for the level of the eyes, halfway between the hairline and the chin. Slightly different. Now I'm looking at a child. It's a little bit further down for children. The crown of the head is bigger in children. The crown of the head is bigger in children than it is in adults. So if you are looking at an image of a child, think about that. So the eye level is my first horizontal guideline. The next guideline is the nose, the bottom of the nose, halfway between the eyes and the chin, and then the mouth. The next and final guideline halfway between the nose and the chin. Those of you taking the portraiture class, if your teacher has given you different directions for how to draw the portrait and you prefer those directions, go ahead and use them. I don't want to confuse anybody. Whatever you find most comfortable is the way to go. Whatever's going to help you achieve success or what you view as success is fine with me. And now you're good to go. I like to start with the eyes. I'm a top-down kind of a person. It's all up to you. The human eye really shows the unique quality of every person. So now I leave it up to you. You can either watch me, those of you who are at the beginning level, you might want to watch what I do. Those of you who are feeling confident or who are more veteran students with me, who've taken a lot of classes with me, just go to work. If you're feeling ready for it, you can draw in whatever kind of media you like, whether it's uniball pen or graphite crayon or pencil. Go ahead and work. So I like to look at the eyebrows first. Every person's eyebrow is unique. You remember that you're not going to create a masterpiece with every single drawing that you make. If you start and you don't like it, feel free to get rid of it. Everybody please mute. Ambient noise can be a distraction. And many artists need silence. Thanks. Somebody, can you check to make sure you're muted, everyone, please? Thanks. Don't forget that everyone has an upper eyelid. Some people have eyelids that are difficult to see. Some people have wide eyelids. Some people have narrow eyelids. There are ethnic and cultural differences. Don't hop to the lower lid. Look at the shapes of the whites of the eyes. They will automatically help you form the shape of the lower lid and determine the direction of the gaze of the person's eye. Remember that the eye is sunken into the eye socket, so any lines that are visible should be curved, not straight. The eye socket is round. Do it lightly first, You can always go over with gradually heavier lines as you work. Remember that the retina is much bigger than you first think. And erasing is fine. Don't forget to step away from your work on occasion to see what you're doing. Remember that the nose, the bridge of the nose is one eye length wide. I'm noticing on the child that I'm drawing, his eyebrow on the right is very different from his eyebrow on the left. So those are the kinds of individual differences that will make your drawing really realistic. Try and see those details. So this child, I'm guessing this child, he might be 9, but the shadow under his eyes is quite dark. And that's because everyone has a shadow under their eyes because the eye is sunken into the eye socket. Don't forget to include that shadow. Don't forget the lower lid. And the lower lid has an inner and outer edge. Might be difficult to see in a photograph, but it's there. And don't forget that the retina is colored, even if it's light colored. It's not white. Don't forget that little spark of light. Otherwise, your portrait is going to have a kind of dead or cartoony look to it. Everyone okay? No questions? Nothing in the chat. Okay, cool. Don't forget to keep looking at the picture you're copying. You have to keep referring back to what you're looking at in order to stay accurate. Don't try and do it from memory. This kid has such amazing eyes, I can't seem to get beyond his eyes. And I'm going to hop down to his nose now. Remember this rule. The inner corner of the eye, if you took the eraser end of your pencil and drop it straight down, it goes to the outer edge of the nose. So I'm looking at my photograph now and I'm dropping the eraser end of the pencil from the inner corner of his eye. And lo and behold, voila, it drops right down to the outer edge of his nose. So I know it's approximately here, and I'm going to make a little mark. And I'm assuming it's going to be the same on the other side. And I like to start with this part of the nose first, the outer edge of the nostril. And what time is it? Oh, we got plenty of time. He's got very rounded nostrils here. Once I've defined them, I'm going to go back up here, sides of his nose. Sharpen my pencil again. Not using any line, only shadow to define the form of his nose. It's rounded over the bridge of the nose, so I'm curving the shadow. It is flat at this part here, so between the eyebrows, my shading is a little bit flatter, but here it's curved. And then here at the ball of his nose, it's really well defined because of the lighting in this photograph. Again, I'm using shadow, even though it's well defined. I'm not using the tip of my pencil, just the side. Laying in the structure of that rounded can see quite a bit of his nostrils because of the way his head is tilted, but I'm not going to go too dark at this point anyway. Because I don't want it to look like a cartoon. I don't want the viewer to focus on that part of the nose. Going back in to make corrections. This is a little too rounded there, so I'm squaring it off. And that's enough for now. I'm gonna, although this is much darker here. I'm gonna jump down to his lips. Now, the rule about lips, the length of the lips, if you drop the pencil from the middle of the eye straight down, that's where the outer edge of the lip is. And it's true on both sides. So I'm gonna do that on my drawing. Nothing in the chat box. We're good to go. All right, everybody's having a good time. And we have plenty of time left. All right, so the edge of his mouth is gonna be right about here. I make my mark on my guideline. And there we go. And everybody's lips are different. This young gentleman has very full lips. And there's not much space between his upper lip and the bottom of his nose. And that's also because of the way his head is tilted. I cannot see much space. Some people have very thin, narrow lips. And I can see I'm going to have to elongate his chin, but that's going to come after. I'm not stressed about that. So that's something to note. Take note of and remember, if the original oval that you made is not the right shape for the face that you're drawing at this stage of the game, don't worry about it. We are going to make those adjustments at the end. Right now, we're just thinking about the features, the internal part of the shape of the face. And the shape of the face comes at the end. I'm not sure we've ever even gotten that far in our lessons because we've run out of time. So my subject has his mouth closed, no teeth showing. the outer edges of his lip are darker. Usually the outer edges of the lip are darker. The internal area of the lip is lighter because of the way the light hits it. Lips project slightly outwards. Remember to try and make your shadow follow the curve of what you're working on. Shadow creates form in 3 dimensions. If you make it flat, it's going to make that part of the face look flat. Okay, so you can see in mine anyway that a face is starting to emerge. Trying to capture the uncapturable, the expression, the great expression on this young man's face.
Liz, the length of the nose in comparison to the eyes is?
It's 1 eye length. Here.
Right.
From the bridge to the tip is 1 eye length.
Amazing. Okay, thanks.
Yep, it is amazing. And I have a long nose, just saying. So that proves it. That's proof right there.
Liz, may I ask you a quick question?
Absolutely, that's what I'm here for. Hit me with it.
My picture, the mouth is open. She's smiling.
Yeah.
And I was just wondering, how do you situate this so it doesn't look like chiclets?
Yeah,
Because I keep having this cartoon mouth and it's
right.
it's a little scary.
You want to do as little as possible with the teeth. Don't do a heavy outline, just very lightly.
Okay.
As few lines as possible, you know, 1 or 2 suggestions of teeth.
Okay.
In fact, once you've done that, you might even want to erase some of what you've put.
I think I've
Try
used
that.
half of my eraser on this mouth already.
Been there, done that. Don't feel bad.
Thank you.
You're welcome. Good luck. So now, if anyone is watching me, I'm going back in now to try and correct the errors I've made with the shape of this young man's head. I'm probably not going to be able to do it because of the fact that I've drawn so large, but his chin is much longer and his forehead is much higher. So a good portion of his face may disappear from my picture, but you know what? That's all right. But this is the normal process. Your guideline head is just that. It's a guideline. And you will have to make this kind of change at the end with every portrait that you make. Morning, bonjour. Actually put his ear up too high. Those of you who care, teacher is erasing. See, it's okay to erase. Still wrong. That's more like it. That's more like it. So about 15 more minutes of work. And then I'm going to stop and tell you about next week's class, and we're going to share. Oh, good. Everybody see me?
Yes. But not your head. We can see you from the neck down. That's better.
Everybody see me?
From the glasses down.
I do not. Oh, now I do.
Yeah, something happened. Can you see me?
Yeah.
Yes, okay. We're back. I don't know what happened, everyone. Sorry about it. Says my connection is unstable, so sorry. Can everyone kind of give me a thumbs up if you can see me?
Again, your head's cut off.
We can see from your neck down to your past to your top of your hips.
Yeah, and we see the image that you, the drawing that you did.
Can you see me?
Yeah, we see you, just not your face. Your face.
You need to
Okay.
angle your camera up.
Now we see you.
Okay. Something happened to my internet connection. I lost all of you for a few minutes.
Oh,
But we're back, or you're back, I should say. So basically now I'm going back in to work on details. I've worked on refining the shape of his head. Now I'm doing things like adding hair, darkening areas that need darkening, doing what I would call the final touches to make my drawing more finished. So one more minute, everyone. All right. First, I want to tell you our artist for next week for Women's History Month in March. Our first artist is Ellen Gallagher. Just put it in the chat box for everyone. You will need paper or pictures with a variety of textures, images, and colors. You'll need scissors and glue. For your materials. Ellen Gallagher is a mixed race artist, collage artist, who actually rips up her paintings and recreates or makes new artwork out of her torn or destroyed artwork. I think you're gonna like her a lot. So again, our first artist for Women's History Month is Ellen Gallagher, and we are gonna be doing collage work inspired by what she does. I am thrilled with what everyone has done today, and I'm looking forward to seeing and sharing with everyone else what you've created. Who wants to share today? Portraiture is like the pinnacle.
I'll share.
Okay, who am I speaking to? To whom am I speaking?
Robin. This is Ruby.
Robin, okay. And Robin, you seem to be having a little feedback.
Okay, I can unmute myself.
Wow, so cool. So cool. Are you open to suggestions, Robin? Beautiful. Okay, unmute yourself so I can talk to you. Feedback usually comes if you have two devices open at the same time. I think this is wonderful, and I know you're not finished. Yeah, you can go way darker with the coloration and the shading. I know you're probably just starting to work on that. Hold up the photograph again, please. Yeah, you've captured the image really well. One thing, I feel as if the eyebrows are a tad bit too close to the upper eyelid.
Okay.
So you might want to look at that a little bit closer.
Okay. I think I might get charcoal to work on this. I was just using
Now
graph.
you could always add a new media. In fact, in my portrait, I want to start working on it with graphite so that I can get even darker. I think you've captured the image beautifully. And the only other thing I want to say, the neck is a little too narrow. So everybody, for a second, remember the neck starts behind the ears. So I feel like the neck on yours should be a little bit wider, Robin.
Okay.
But other than that, I think this is going really in a beautiful direction. Wonderful job. Congrats.
Thanks.
All right, who wants to go next?
Back.
I'll go.
Who is that?
Lauren.
All right,
And I
Lauren.
love that portrait. Wow.
Yeah, Robin did great.
Can I say that first? Yeah, that was. So this was really difficult for me, but this was my picture.
Okay.
So I kind of centered it down a little bit more. So
Oh, I see.
had reference, but I kind of
struggle with the teeth. Yes. Yeah.
My God, the teeth though, it's difficult
Yeah.
not to.
Yeah. You know, the mouth is slightly open more in the photograph. So that's why the teeth really dominate her face in the photograph. But you've done really well. One
Thank you.
suggestion I would make.
The eyes are.
Yeah, well, the retina is really bigger. I want you to go back and look closer. You have a lot of white in your eyes in your drawing, and you can barely see any of the whites of the eye in the photograph. So you want to look at how much of the space of the eye is filled in with the retina, the colored portion of the eye.
Okay.
And I think just looking at that and making that one small change is really going to make your picture look even more realistic than it is already. You've really captured
it feels a little
wonderful
cartoony.
shape of her face so well. She's such a beautiful shape.
Isn't she beautiful?
Yeah.
Stunning.
The distinct shape of her chin, you really captured that so well. And
Thank
the
you.
only other thing, you are at a disadvantage because you cannot see the top of her head in the photograph, but she needs more head.
I thought that it looked a little short.
Yeah. So
I feel like
I would make the head run off the top of the page just the way it does in the photograph.
Okay.
And her forehead, because it's chopped off, you can't see. The hairline probably is up high. The hairline is probably where you have the top of the head.
You know, that's where I had started, and then I added hair, and I realized it looked a little compressed.
Such a great drawing. You know who she looks like? AOC.
Oh my gosh, I was just reading actually about her. I almost did this one.
Is that the latest?
Okay.
I used to get Vanity Fair. I'm not getting it. I'm mourning the loss of Vanity Fair. So yeah, beautiful. Lauren, it's a beautiful drawing.
Thank you.
You might want to look at it. You know, I invite you to try and make those few little changes, and I think you're going to see it's
moving
even more realistic. Yeah, I would lift.
Starting here with the hairline?
The hairline should be where you have the top of the head, and enlarge the retina and make the whites of the eye smaller.
Okay.
Beautiful.
Does the head look too big for the body, or is that showing it's kind of behind?
Well, the neck is maybe a little bit too narrow also on yours, but other than that, I think it's perfect proportion.
Great. Well, thank you so much.
You're so welcome.
I really appreciate it.